I worked for American Express for 30 years. My last role, I was a director of business development. So I had a national team selling, financial products across the US, tons of travel, high stress as it could be was that job. And then while I was out on FMLA, I got displaced, lost my job after all this time with the same company. But I will tell you that it was the blessing that I didn't know I needed. It was the absolute best thing that could have happened for me and my family.
So let's talk to Shelly. Should we take a second for anyone who doesn't know you, Shelly? Just tell everybody who you are, where you live, where you invest.
Yeah, so Shelly Goland. I live in Northern Virginia, but I invest in Pennsylvania and Philly, in the Philly market. So I joined the group in December, like right before the holidays. And then when I think about it, like one of the key things we talked about grace, I think we all suffer from giving ourselves too much grace because when I started, I wanted to be done very quickly and get the first thing under contract by February and all the things, right? And every single person we talk to in these breakouts is the same thing. Like if we haven't gotten it done immediately, we're behind schedule. I mean, and it helps to motivate us, but it also it gives you a sense of anxiety. And I had that significantly. So the fact that I had nothing going on by February was an issue. And then March, and that it just kept going on. So what it did motivate me though is to open up to other avenues of thinking about not being afraid of working with wholesalers because I was very afraid of potentially losing money and so forth. But I figured let me just throw caution to the wind and just be really knowledgeable about the process and what's at risk and can I actually get this done, and then we just jump into it. And thank God, like very quick close, it all worked out. But I was lucky enough to be successful with a wholesale deal. So I got a triplex in the Belmont area of Philadelphia. So it's about 2 miles away from University City, and it's positioned great, right, to tap into the tenant pool in that market and so on. So I felt super lucky, but of course, all of the instructions are you start with a single family, a 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and then I'm like, here, triplex, like yeah, like let's go. But thank God,
Yeah,
like no
we
major
just
issues so
we
far.
just list what has worked for majority of the people.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean that's the right path for you, Overachiever, let's go.
Well, I figured that we're all here, right? And we're all taking risk and investing in ourselves. So, like, what's the worst that can happen? We fail, we go on to the next one, and
Yeah,
so forth.
I love that.
So that's how we've been,
And
we've
where are you
tried
based,
that.
Shelley?
I'm in Northern Virginia. Sorry if I didn't
Northern
say that.
Virginia. What did you do for a living? Can you talk a little bit about what brought you to real estate? And then we'll talk about the deal.
Yeah. So I was in corporate America I worked for American Express for 30 years. My last role, I was a director of business development. So I had a national team selling, financial products across the US, tons of travel, just as high stress as it could be was that job. And then I started having like some back problems, just with all of the travel and everything else. I thought that was it. Found out that it was a lot more serious than that. So I ended up having to have spinal fusion December. And then while I was out on FMLA, I got displaced. So lost my job after all this time with the same company. But I will tell you that it was the blessing that I didn't know I needed. It was the absolute best thing that could have happened for me and my family. So even now, like I still have, issues with my back, and there's no way on God's green earth I could have continued to do that job and the stress that came along with it. But it did now open me up to thinking about what other opportunities, are available. And then I was actually and this is another thing. Sometimes, we tend to be super private and keep things to ourselves. But I was just being real super open, speaking to a really great friend of mine, and just going into it. And I started to talk about, like I had a really bad experience with real estate like 15 years ago. But I think I want to like dibble and dabble. Let's see, there's so much potential. Could this make sense? And as she says to me, well, if you're looking for a program, my sister did this program with this company called Open Spaces. Let me talk to her and see what she can, what she can tell me. And she literally just sent me kind of, here's the website, go take a look at it and so on. And then I think I signed up for one of those calls that you do every so often, Pollock, like introducing the program and so on. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
and we were off to the races. I was like,
And was your son with you on that call? I
yeah, my
remember he
son
was,
was with me.
yeah,
Exactly. He was because my kids, I have adult kids, and they're like, what can we do? Let's build some generational wealth,
I
wealth.
love that.
So he was in the background, like sitting on the couch over
Yeah.
there. And yeah, and then we just started like, let's get on. It was a Sunday, I think, and we jumped on the call. And then, I was very, very interested. And especially because my good friend who I was pouring my soul out to said, hey, I heard about this thing, let me find out. And just
Yeah.
it all connected and put the pieces together. And here we are.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
been really great. So my kids, I have a daughter as well, and the three of us sat down and said, "Okay, Mom, like you take the lead in making this happen, but we will form like our company together." And
Oh
this is
my
the
God.
beginning of like the family legacy that we're trying to put together.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So it's a good story. Like, so folks say, well, you never go back to corporate America, and I'm like, for what?
Yeah,
Right? I tell
I
my
know.
husband, like, put me on your medical plan and now let me go get rich for us.
I
So
love that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And this is a really smart way if you're a couple, when one person takes the role of a multiplier, and if your husband has a full-time job, the tax benefits alone are going to be insane for you
yeah.
guys.
Yeah, we're
So
so looking
that's,
forward to that. Yeah. So our
yeah.
goal for this year was to try to get rep status. So that
Yes.
actually, is even more pressure to try to, like scale and, get as many properties going as possible and then do all the things, the cost segregation and like everything that, could just help us from having the business. And then if we're, fortunate enough to achieve that, then I think we'll be in a great place.
Oh, I'm so, so happy to hear this. Yes. And so so you chose Philadelphia as your market.
I did, yeah. At first, that wasn't the first market, but just being on the calls and just seeing how many resources were already established in Philadelphia.
And so, Shelly, to give us the numbers, what's the
Yes.
acquisition?
So the triplex was 230,000, and that included actually a $10,000 assignment fee because it was a
Okay,
wholesaler. So that's
sure.
the only thing, like in terms of really understanding, like don't be afraid of wholesalers, but you'll get a discounted price, but it kind of adds up anyway. So that's in there,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
obviously like you transfer taxes, like I had to pay, but to me it didn't matter. So
So you do the numbers. If the deal works, it works. It
it
doesn't matter,
works.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So 230 was the acquisition cost. The rehab is 105. And then the ARV it's a little all over the place. It's like between 450 and 495.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, and here's one of the things like because of the quick close, they brought an appraiser in before and he lowballed us terribly. Like his
Mm-hmm.
appraisal came in at 296. And I think I was telling Danny yesterday, because we had to respond so quickly, I didn't have all of the details that I needed. But now, like after the fact, I went into Claude and like put in all the details. I put in his comps, and Claude came back and said all of these comps should have been disqualified because this is a
Mm-hmm.
duplex when it should have been a triplex.
Correct.
This hasn't been sold for the past 10 years. Like, so it was terrible. So that even validated, as did the wholesaler, that no, here are some comps that are very similar to yours, and minimum you should be at 450. On the high side, it could even go up to 500. Just
Wow.
put 450 in as my, realistic number, and then just took it from there.
Wow. So I'm sure there's soft costs and everything, but I got 230 plus 105, 335. And then the ARV could be 450, 500.
Yeah.
So minimum, you're making 100K in equity. And if all goes well, you could be making $165,000. If Oh
I
my
hope
God.
so. Yeah.
And not just that, you're going to make cash flow on it every month. What are the rents like?
So, and I went conservative with the rents. So I have a studio, a 2 bedroom, and a 3 bedroom in this triplex. So all told, I think we have it as 4,800 conservatively,
Amazing.
for the whole building.
Wow. That is incredible. How much money did you bring to the table, Shelly?
I brought, I think, 50,000 because I did hard money and they did 85% of the purchase price and then 100% of the rehab. So
Wow.
obviously, my 15% plus the transfer taxes and all these things add up.
Yeah.
But even still, I still thought it
But you
was,
did a large deal as your first deal, and you
yeah.
still only brought 50. thousand to the table. If
Yeah.
you were to go out and buy a $500,000 property, which is it's probably gonna appraise at $500,000, you'd bring 25% down, and that would plus 5% all the other expenses that go along with that. So 30% of 500K is what? 150,000?
150. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, instead of 150K, you're starting out at 50K. So number one, you're saving 100K there.
Yeah.
But then at the end, you're making 165K. Pay yourself back the 50K. Oh my God. This is insane.
So I'm almost scared to believe it. I'm kind of like,
I
okay,
know.
like let's see, like I'm not jumping up and down just yet, but I'm feeling it inside. But
Yeah.
barring no issues after the fact, then
Yeah.
it's realistic.
So, Shelly, last question. I'd love to know, like, if you top three things that you think were the most helpful for you from the program, whether it was the calls, the modules, connecting with
Yeah.
Danny, deal analysis, calls with Nidhi,
Yeah.
community. Yeah.
I think the biggest one was conversations with people in the community
Yes.
because I had just a very different thought coming in. And even with like this one, I told you I turned over to Vanessa and Anthony, and I struggle with doing that because I wanted to, be more involved and pick all the things and so forth. And I had a call, I remember with Irina, and she said to me, she was like, listen, your job is to find the next deal, right? Your job is not to get all in the weeds about the cabinets or the this or the that. Like your job is to find the next deal if you're a real estate investor. And we talked, I talked to a ton of people, but that resonated more than anything with me. And to me, it was like, okay, what's going to get you on the map first, quickly? And it
Yes.
was turn over the minutia and then with someone who's obviously been proven throughout the community and
Yes.
focus on what's important, right, going after
Yes.
everything else. So that was critical for me.
I
I
love
think,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's Arena is always like, listen, yes, I
I
know how she
know.
always gives it straight.
And she's just like throwing out a bunch of things. But for me, who was like struggling with, oh no, I want to be more involved. Oh no, blah, blah, blah. Like I can do that later on, like get on the map,
Yeah.
you have a deal. Let's see what happens there. I think secondly, my accountability group. So we've got like four or five
Yeah.
people that we meet like weekly when we can,
Love that.
we
Yeah.
try to as much as possible. And just the encouragement and the sharing there, it's almost like it's an extension of my team. And the majority
Yes.
of us are still pretty new, but we kind of keep each other balanced, and
100%.
calm each other down when somebody's having, a moment, and just keep encouraging each other. So that has been incredible for us. And then I think like being able to go back, like looking at some of the materials, like the SOPs, because sometimes you get so deep in the weeds. And I had started reading the SOPs like early when I did the module and then went down a whole rabbit hole before I even knew what I was supposed to be doing. So I put it aside, but I was struggling with something the other day, maybe like a month or so ago. And I think Danny may have said to me, hey, go check the SOP. And I'm like I have all the information I need, but it's so much, you kind of forget that you don't
Yes.
have to go do research again. Like just go pick it out and read it. So that kind of rounded out like everything. So I felt like, okay, I have everything I need. I have people I can call. And that's why we're here.
I love that. You're making six figures in within a matter of months, not even being there physically. I'm just so amazed. You guys are crushing it. I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you. Thank you to you, the program, everybody on the phone. Like it's been awesome. I don't know if I could have done it, definitely this quickly without the support here.
Yeah, we're not meant to do this alone. Collapsing time. That's what we're doing here, right? You could figure it out alone, but take you 3 years to make 100K. Oh my God. Thank you for hanging out today and thank you for sharing that, Shelly.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye,
Thank
guys. See you next
you.
week. When you're ready to get serious, you can join us at theinvestoraccelerator.com.
It's like getting 1,000 episodes worth of information in 5 days, and it's everything you need to build your actionable plan to financial freedom and making work optional.